Hey everyone. It's Denise, and I have an update for you guys. A couple of things. Uh, so if you've been watching me for a while on YouTube, some of you may have known me from when I started my blog, Astrology and Psychic Predictions. That was back in 2008. So I've been publicly predicting things um, that unfortunately have come to pass, and I don't always understand the messages I get until time evolves, because often I get them quite far ahead of time. So you'll remember the plague spirit, I'm sure, that I've talked about. Uh, I talked about it on Substack. I wrote about it there. I've also talked about it on YouTube. So about 2 years ago, in the fall of 2023, I saw what looked like some kind of a weird animal that was made out of skeletons. It was like a cow or a sheep, or I didn't know what it was. It was some kind of an animal, like an animal that we would consume, kind of animal. The humans, a farm animal type of animal. It told me that it was a blood plague coming, and that the consumption of the meat was going to start this massive pandemic and kill tons and tons of people. That was going to be worse than COVID. So, bird flu started to pop up and become more of an issue a couple of years into it. And I started realizing, I think this is it. I think it's the bird flu, but it wasn't a bird that came to me. It was more like a cow kind of looking thing. I think that is significant. So here's the deal. I couldn't figure this out because at the time Biden was president, and we have things in place, the FDA, and we had protocols to make sure that people weren't eating infected meat here in the United States. And I couldn't figure out, how is it going to come through the meat, right? Well, it's not making headline news, but if you look it up, there have been some articles that have come out in science magazines that someone made me aware of. Thank God for that. I had a dream about a month ago about an owl, a little white owl that was dead. And I took that as a sign that, and it was like this freak out about the bird flu in the dream. And I took that as a sign that there will be no eyes on it, that the owl represents warning and also wisdom. And so it was dead, and white is spirit. So there is no real warning coming about bird flu. And of course, we know there isn't, right? They're not monitoring it as a specific thing. So let me just say that RFK Jr. has instructed the agency to no longer kill off the flocks in chicken and turkeys, allow the bird flu to spread through the flocks, and apparently sell the infected meat. So here's the deal. You can cook it and it will kill the virus, but bird flu is extremely, extremely hardy as a virus. It's not like COVID, where if you get it on, your hands, it kind of dies. A little bit of washing your hands and it's gone. Or if it's on your countertop, it dies after like 30 seconds or something of exposure. This actually is extremely virulent, and preparing the meat of the turkey, the chicken, and also probably cows, because cows are also infected with it. And if it's allowed to spread unencumbered, it will eventually also be a problem in much bigger ways in beef as well. So you bring it home, your turkey, your chicken, you cook it, but it's all over your counter, the bird flu, it's all in your bag, everything you touch. And you don't if a little tiny bit of it is not scrubbed clean with bleach, you'll get an infection. Now, I'm not sure even like at what temperature you'd have to cook the meat to be able to be safe with it, but this is what the plague. I'm very certain that this is what I was warned about 2 years ago. Scientists are saying that this is going to escalate and the mutation of the flu into humans and spread. And they're very worried about this uh, uh, making this pandemic, this coming pandemic, a sure thing that will happen a lot quicker. So I've been trying to figure out when it's going to happen. I don't know when this new policy is going to go into effect, but I do feel that this is coming. And the other thing I want to say is if you haven't subscribed to my Substack, you need to do so because the other problem we're going to start having by about 6 months from now, a year at the most, is after that the BB bill passed. $160 billion was given to ICE. We see what they're doing to the population, the Hispanic population. Trump has already made threats of deporting citizens, people that don't agree with him. And at a certain point, like I've told you guys, it's going to be imperative that you and I and everybody else who doesn't agree with all the policies that we have a way to communicate and that we have a way to stay in contact under the radar of social media. There is no other platform at all that allows the person who, like me, to have access to your emails other than Substack. And here's the thing with that. It's naturally a newsletter service. So what you can do as a Substack person is anybody who subscribes, you can download their emails. At a certain point, this channel will go dark. There will be no more me on this channel. And even Substack might go dark because I don't want to put people at risk for being put into camps, deported, tortured, bothered. I don't want that. And so I don't want for myself, and I don't want anybody who watches or interacts with me to have that. So how do you keep a community together? You have to keep the community together through subterranean means. So if I have an email service on my own, I can stay in contact with you and give you information. It is imperative that if you want my information, you have to go to Substack now. There's going to be probably only about another 6 months where I'm going to be this public. I'm telling you this now so you can do it. Only a couple thousand of you have done it. And I'm going to just state here the truth, which is I'm not tooting my own horn here. I'm just telling you the truth. I have predicted thing after thing. It's not me. I have been given this information by spirit. I know this is part of my big mission here on this planet is to tell people stuff. I am not just doing this for my ego or for money. I'm doing this because this is something I was told I had to do since I was a child. And I'm not doing it for my own benefit. I'm doing it for the benefit of people who are watching this so they can be prepared. The other day, someone sent me an a which people do all the time, which I appreciate, but they sent me, I don't watch other readers, but somebody sent me a Vedic astrologer. Uh, I don't know why, but they did. So they sent me this uh, YouTube video where this man is stroking a cat and talking about how, you know, he said something about you're worried about your precious democracy. Well, let me tell you something, because and Kali Yuga is the thing. It's the last 5,000 years. If you want to worry about something, worry about that. Well, hate to tell him this, but he wasn't around 6,000 years ago, at least that he remembers. Was it really better 6,000 years ago than it is now? This is an ideological or spiritual belief system. All we know is what we have, and this is the best system of government on the planet is democracy. So I don't really think it was better when the Egyptians were enslaving people and or when the Jews were enslaved or humanity is humanity. And while there may have been periods where people were more spiritual um, and less materialistic, I can't honestly say that it was better 6,000 years ago than it is now. Nobody knows that. So that to me was absurd and really delusional. And I just have to say that I've talked to many people who have been telling me all kinds of crazy things about people here who claim to be psychic or whatever, who tell people all kinds of things that just are blatantly false. All I know is that historically there has been, and I'm not doing that. I doubt myself. Okay. I'm not, I can't understand always what's happening. And I'm very honest about that because spirit is very confusing and it's all very, it takes time and information is like a puzzle pieces. I don't pretend to be anything but a person who gets information in pieces. But there are a lot of people in this space who are doing it to get whatever. And they tell people things that are not true. And I don't know if it's because they do this because they want it to be true. They don't know what they're talking about. They want to tell people what they want to hear. They want to make people feel better. I'm not sure what it is exactly. It's probably different for everyone. But let me just say, I've been doing this since I was a child. The first reading I gave someone was some random kid who came up to me when I was a freshman in high school, my first semester, who heard about all of the different weird things that I knew and um, came up to me and asked me to give him a reading. I started doing this right out of college. I was doing readings in college. I've been doing this my whole life. This isn't something I put on. This is who I am. And so I just want to say that be careful who you listen to. You don't have to listen to me. And if you don't listen to me, make sure that even if you listen to me, I want you to be skeptical of everything you hear. I want you to think about it. Does it make sense? Store it in your book of things and try to really also hold people accountable. If people have been saying things and they turn out not to be true, take stock in that. People are not always 100% right, but if somebody is 75% wrong, then I would disregard that person's information. So the dream I had in 2020, where I was in this industrial space and people who were dissidents or people who were lefties were being shot. And the option between that and going to a prison was the only option for people. That is the reality I think we're going to be looking at in about 6 months to a year. I'm not saying it's going to be successful. I don't know that it will. However, I don't want to put anybody in harm's way. I don't want to scare you, but I want you to be realistic. What you watch will be a reflection of what people who, if somebody is watching you, they will judge you on that. So please join me on the Substack because at some point, like I said, I'm going to go dark. And if you want information that is going to happen, not just things that are going to make you feel good or make you feel better, if you want information that actually is going to come to pass, and I'm not saying there aren't other people in this space who are doing this, but so far, the majority of things that people have sent my way are just utter bullshit. I'm just going to be totally frank with you. Most of the stuff is bullshit. And some of it is good. I know there are some good people. And there's probably people in the general population that have more intuition than some of the people that are claiming to be who they say they are. I know when I started working right out of college as a psychic on this hotline, which was this massive bank of about 200 psychics working. We all had our own little cubby holes because at the time it wasn't, it was early 90s. I met hundreds of psychics, maybe thousands over the course of time working there. I would do readings at night. I had my own thing, and I would do this during the day. So I probably did uh, at 500 readings a week or some crazy thing like that, maybe more. I don't even know. It was insane. And I can tell you that of all the people that worked in this that I met, there were some great people, but the vast majority of the people were crazy, delusional, on a trip. They wanted people to, they wanted to kind of manipulate you or get you to do something, or they were just full of crap. And I'm just saying that because it's true. And I'm tired of the proliferation of people lying on YouTube and in other places. Now, maybe they're not lying. Maybe they're just delusional. Maybe they're misinformed. Maybe they're people that, you know, are doing the best they can, but they don't have a lot to work with. I don't know what it is, but all I know is I'm getting all kinds of people telling me crazy things. I've had people tell me getting readings that they got readings from certain people that are known on YouTube and stuff that was just so not right, so unethical. So, you know, I take this seriously and I hold myself to a high standard and I don't even believe what I think or say. I wait for the information. I try not to I try to make sure I have confirmation. I try to do this in a way that is as ethical and for the greater good as I possibly can. And that is why I've also gone off YouTube for the most part. So please join me at Substack because at a certain point, what you're watching on YouTube will become a problem for you. And I believe that many of the readers, even if they're inaccurate, that you're going to watch are going to be a problem for you to watch as well. So I think my feeling about this is if no one else is telling you this, um, because it's, you know, it's a bottom line thing for a lot of people. People make money on YouTube. And some people who have big followings make a lot of money. And, you know, if you're sacrificing, some people don't want to sacrifice that. They just want to make the money. And hey, you know, when it all goes up in smoke, I guess they'll deal with it then. I know that, it's a lot easier to go on YouTube. People watch you, people can watch you on your television, and it makes everything financially a lot easier for people to be on YouTube. So I'm just telling you, I'm not doing this because it's to my benefit. I'm doing it because it's to the benefit of I want to migrate people so they can keep a community together and actually keep this information flowing. I'm not doing it for my own good. It's not to my good. It's not to my personal best interest. It's to the best interest of the situation. So please join me on Substack. I know people complain, oh, I can't do the app and da 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 da. Well, it could be that your app isn't compatible with a phone, but you can do it on your computer. As long as you sign up for the newsletter, I can find a way at some point, if everything goes dark, to stay in contact with you. I'm telling you that now. I told you guys this before, but now that this is passed, it's going to be only a matter of months or a year before it's going to get really weird here. And I can tell you, looking at the astrology, that by this time, by next year, we're talking about it going into a whole other level. And I'm going to keep it at that. And maybe I'll come back and talk to you guys more about some of this before this channel goes dark. But be careful about eating meat from now on. I don't know when we're going to find out when they do this, but this is a really serious thing. And I believe this is coming sooner than we would like. All right. Blessings to all of you. Keep an eye on this. Bye-bye.